Welcome back, my wonderful learners. Abraham Lincoln is remembered as one of the greatest leaders in history, but his journey to greatness began in the most humble way imaginable. Born on February 12, 1809, in a small log cabin in Kentucky, Lincoln grew up in extreme poverty. His family struggled to survive on the American frontier, where daily life was filled with hard labor, uncertainty, and little opportunity. Education was scarce, and Lincoln received less than 1 year of formal schooling in his entire life. Yet from a young age, he showed an intense desire to learn, reading every book he could find and teaching himself by candlelight after long days of work. Lincoln's childhood was marked by tragedy when his mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, died when he was just 9 years old. Her death deeply affected him and shaped his compassionate and reflective nature. As he grew older, Lincoln worked many jobs, including farmhand, rail splitter, store clerk, and postmaster. During these years, he earned a reputation for honesty and fairness, eventually becoming known as Honest Abe. Stories spread of his integrity, including tales of him walking miles to return money he had accidentally overcharged customers. Despite repeated failures in business, relationships, and early political campaigns, Lincoln never gave up. He taught himself law by reading borrowed books and eventually became a successful lawyer in Springfield, Illinois. Known for his logical arguments, empathy, and moral reasoning, he built a strong reputation in the courtroom. His interest in politics grew, and he served in the Illinois state legislature before moving on to national politics as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. As the nation expanded westward, the issue of slavery became increasingly divisive. Lincoln believed slavery was morally wrong and argued that it should not be allowed to expand into new territories. His debates with Senator Stephen A. Douglas in 1858 brought him national attention, especially when he warned that a nation divided between slavery and freedom could not endure. Although he lost that Senate race, his words resonated across the country and positioned him as a rising political figure. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. His victory triggered outrage in the southern states, which feared that his presidency threatened the institution of slavery. Even before he was inaugurated, several southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The nation stood on the edge of collapse, and soon after, the American Civil War began with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter in April 1861. As president during the Civil War, Lincoln faced immense pressure and criticism. Many doubted his leadership, while others accused him of being too cautious or too extreme. The war proved devastating, claiming more than 600,000 lives. Through it all, Lincoln remained focused on preserving the Union. As the conflict continued, he realized that ending slavery was not only morally necessary, but strategically essential. On January 1, 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring enslaved people in Confederate states to be free. Though it did not immediately abolish slavery everywhere, it transformed the war into a fight for human freedom and allowed Black Americans to serve in the Union Army. This decision marked a turning point in American history and redefined the purpose of the war. The burden of leadership weighed heavily on Lincoln. He struggled with deep depression and suffered personal loss when his son Willie died during the war. Despite his grief, Lincoln continued to lead with compassion, often visiting wounded soldiers and reading letters from grieving families. He believed strongly in mercy and reconciliation, even toward those who had rebelled against the nation. In 1863, Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, a speech lasting just 2 minutes but forever etched into history. In a few powerful words, he reaffirmed the principles of equality, democracy, and national unity, declaring that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, must not perish from the earth. By 1865, the Union emerged victorious, and slavery was officially abolished with the passage of the 13th Amendment. Lincoln was re-elected president, and the country began to look toward healing and reconstruction. However, just days after the Civil War ended, tragedy struck. On April 14, 1865, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. He died the following morning, plunging the nation into mourning. Abraham Lincoln's legacy lives on as a symbol of perseverance, moral courage, and selfless leadership. Rising from poverty to lead a fractured nation through its darkest chapter, he preserved the Union and reshaped the meaning of freedom and democracy. His life reminds us that greatness is not determined by what. His life reminds us that greatness is not determined by where we begin, but by the values we uphold and the choices we make.